जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी हे राधा माधव जय सुंदरी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन जय ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन जय ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना श्रीरावणचारी जय कुंदरी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय कुंदरी जय राधा माधव जय कुंदरी जय राधा माधव जय कुंदरी जय राधा माधव जय कुंदरी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शना जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शना जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शना जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पतगामी भवती में जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पतगामी भवती में जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पतगामी नयन पथगामी भवति मे। जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी, जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय बलदेव, जय सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शन। जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद, पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद, पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद, पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद, पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद। गौरानिता, 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 गौरानिता। ओम विष्णुपाद ब्रह्मोस प्रयोजिकाचार्य अश्वत्थ शक्ति भक्त वेदांत स्वामी बहुपाद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी स्वामित भक्त वृंद की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Hare Krishna devotees. So, welcome for the Zoom class, Srimad Bhagavatam Zoom class associated with Iskcon Seshadripuram. So, we will continue the session shortly. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamunirare Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदाम्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सार्वभौतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदं सगणललिता श्री विशाखावितं तं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। So today we'll be covering 34th and 35th shloka of second chapter of fourth canto. I'm just opening the shloka. Give me 2 minutes. Okay, this is the shloka. Uh, just a minute. I am reading the shloka and translations. Tepi Vishwasujaha Satram Sahasra Parivatsaran Samvidaya Maheshwasa Yatreja Rishabho Hari. Word to word meaning by Srila Prabhupada. Te, those, api, even, Vishwasujaha, progenitors of universal population, Satram, the sacrifice, Sahasra, 1000, Parivastra, years, Samvidaya, performing, Maheshwasa, O Vidura, Yatra, in which, Ijaha, to be worshipped, Vrishabhaha, the presiding deity of all demigods, Hari, Hari, translation. The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidura, all the progenitors of universal population thus executed the sacrifice for thousands of years. For sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Purport. It is clearly stated here that the stalwart personalities who generate the entire population of the world are interested in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by offering sacrifices. The Lord also says in Bhagavad Gita, Voktaram Yaggatapasam, one may engage in performing sacrifice and severe austerities for perfection, but they are all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. If such activities are performed for personal satisfaction, one is involved in pasanda or atheism. But when they are performed for satisfaction of Supreme Lord, one is following the Vedic principle. All the assembled sages perform sacrifices for 1000 years. I am reading 35th shloka now. Aplutyavrutam yatra gandam yamunna yanvitaha virajena atmana sarve swam swam dhama yayussataha. What one meaning? Aplutya, taking bath. Avabhrutam, the bath which is taken after performing sacrifice. Yatra, where? Ganga, river Ganga. Yamunaya, by the river Yamuna. Anvita, mixed. Virajena, without infection. Atmana, by the mind. Sarve, all. Swansam, their respective. Dhama, abodes. Yayuh, went. Tataha, from there. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear Vidura, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna after completing the yajna performance. Such a bath is called Avabhruta Snana. After thus becoming purified in her, they departed for their respective abodes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. After Lord Shiva and previously Daksha left the arena of sacrifice, sacrifice was not stopped. The sages went on for many years in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord. The sacrifice was not destroyed for want of Shiva and Daksha, and the sages went on there with their activities. In other words, it may be assumed that if one does not worship the demigods, even up to Lord Shiva and Brahma, one can nevertheless satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can nevertheless satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead. This also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Kamaistarit Terva Hruta Jana Prapadyante Anya Devataha. Persons who are impelled by lust and desire go to the demigods to derive some material benefit. Bhagavad Gita uses the very specific word Nashti Buddhi, meaning persons who have lost their sense or intelligence. Only such persons care for demigods and want to derive material benefit from them. Of course, it does not mean that one should not show respect to demigods, but there is no need to worship them. One who is honest may be faithful to the government, but he does not need to bribe the government servants. Bribery is illegal. One does not bribe the government servant, but that doesn't mean that one does not show respect to him. Similarly, one who engages in transcendental loving service of Supreme Lord does not need to worship any demigod, nor does he have any tendency to show disrespect to the demigods. Just elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Ye api anya devata bhakta yajante shraddha vinpataha. The Lord says that anyone who worships the demigod is also worshipping him, but he is worshipping avidhi purvakam, which means without following the regulative principles. The regulative principle is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Worship of demigod may indirectly be worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it is not regulated. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, one automatically serves all demigods because they are parts and parcels of the whole. If one supplies water to root of tree, all the parts of the tree, such as leaves, branches, are automatically satisfied. And if one supplies food to the stomach, all the limbs of the body, that is the hands, legs, fingers, are nourished. Thus, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can satisfy all the demigods. But by worshipping all the demigods, one does not completely worship the Supreme Lord. Therefore, worship of demigods is irregular and it is disrespectful to the scriptural injunctions. In this age of Kali, it is practically impossible to perform the Deva Yajna or sacrifice to the demigod. As such, in this age, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends Sankirtan Yajna. Yajna Sankirtan Praya Yajantitu Sumadesaha. In this age, the intelligent person completes the performance of all kinds of yajnas simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Tasmin tushte jagat tushta. When the Lord is Vishnu is satisfied, all the demigods who are parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord are satisfied. Hare Krishna. Tepi Vishwasujaha Satram Sastra Parivatsaranam Samvidaya Maheshwasa Yatrejja Rishabho Hari. The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidura, all the progenitors of universal population thus exhibited the sacrifice for thousands of years. For sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. This is the first sloka we read. Second is, my dear Vidura, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna after completing the yajna performance. Thus, such a bath is called Avabhuta Snana. After thus performing purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. Hare Krishna. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रष्टाय भूतले श्रीमदे जयपताका स्वामिनिति नामने नमो आचार्य पदाय निताय कृपा पदायिने गौरकथा दामोदर नगरग्राम तारिणे नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रष्टाय भूतले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषण्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Nitai ki jai. Okay. So the what you call occasion or the event here is basically the yajna is being performed by various demigods, rishis, and various great personalities. Where it is done at Daksha's place. Daksha has arranged this yajna. I'll just tell the story because this is the story of Daksha, Prajapati Daksha and Lord Shiva. Just to give the background, this is being narrated in Bhagavatam, obviously, by Shukadeva Goswami. And this is actually the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya Muni. Vidura is inquiring, Maitreya is answering this. And that is being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami in the Bhagavatam. That's what we are reading. So now in that, in this, incident, basically, Daksha was a Prajapati. Who is Daksha? Daksha is a Prajapati. Just a minute. Prajapati, basically, Prajapati is where they came from. Daksha was basically the son-in-law of the Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu had three daughters, Devavati, Akuti, and Prasuti. Prasuti was the wife of Daksha. Who was Daksha? Okay. Now, Akuti was given to Prajapati, Ruchi. and Devavati was Kardama Muni, which we discussed. Kardama Muni, Devavati, and then they had some 9 daughters and Lord Kapila as incarnation. This is what we discuss. Akuti, that stories will come later. That is Prajapati Ruchi. And but Prasuti is Daksha. That story is going on. She was given to Daksha, and that is the further story. Now Daksha had a daughter of Sati also. He has other daughters, but Sati was married to Lord Shiva. Now Lord Shiva, as you know, Lord Shiva is a topmost Vaishnava. He's not even demigod. He's above the demigod. He's almost like God, almost like Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that way, he's a he's a different tattva itself. He's not a human. He's not a human being tattva. Neither his personality of God is like in between. But he is almost equal to Vishnu, and he is actually the topmost Vaishnava. Vaishnava nam yata Shambhu. But Lord Shiva's appearance is very different or odd in a conventional way in material point of view, because you can see Lord Shiva's deities or photos. The snake is actually, he had drunk the poison, and his body is smeared with ash from the smashan. And here his followers, of course, there are followers also, many followers, but many of these followers are like Bhuta Pretas and many type of followers, which are a bit odd. Anyway, so the thing is basically, he was invited, Lord Shiva was invited to the Daksha's Yajna performance. What is Yajna? In that Yuga, Satya Yuga, they used to do the Yajna performance with lot of homa and they will put a lot of ghee and lot of ingredients, and they will, sort of sacrifice the animal. But it is not the killing of the animal. It's basically giving that animal the higher life. It is not just killing and whatever we see today, sacrifice, that is all nonsense. That time animal was sacrificed by mantras, and then it was elevated to the higher stage of the life. That is the sacrifice, not this sort of sacrifice. What we see today, which is a perverted reflection. So that was arranged. That is for a good of the, because when you do the yajna is done to satisfy the demigods or supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, so ultimately yajna is done to satisfy the supreme personality of Godhead, which is mentioned by Prabhupada here. That is why, so all the sages and great personalities were called, invited, and performance was being done. So Lord Brahma also was there. Lord Brahma is the creator of universal. Lord Brahma created, first human being was Swayambhu Manu, and then first woman was Shatrupa, and further progeny was created. Of course, he created some Prajapatis and many things also, but that is the starting of the material world. That's what being explained, how material world is created and how various living entities came. That's the whole narration is given by Maitreya Muni to Vidura. And this is one of the subsequent event where Lord Brahma is already there, Swayambhu Manu is already there, then they had daughters, and that daughters are further getting married to Prajapati. Prajapati has been entrusted the task of progeny. Progeny means creating more human being. Okay. So, and they are being further expanded. So it's a human civilization and animal and everything is getting expanded, and that's the stories are being told in Bhagavatam. That's what we are here. And in this case now, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, many great personalities are invited. And when Daksha comes before the start of the Yajna, Lord Brahma and Shiva did not stood from their seat, while all the other great personalities stood from their seat. Why? Because to show respect to Daksha. Because Daksha was a Prajapati, he was not ordinary person. He was a very expert. Daksha means expert, and he was a Prajapati. So everybody, and he's actually Daksha is one of the Mahajana out of 12 Mahajana. So he's very prominent personality, very well known, very beautiful, very rich, and very opulent, and very knowledgeable, intelligent, all sort of influences were there. So Daksha was not an ordinary person. Sorry. So everybody stood to show the respect. That's quite natural. But Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva did not stood. Now this Daksha did not mind. Daksha did not mind when Lord Brahma did not stood, because Lord Brahma is a creator. Here, that's what he was thinking. But Lord Shiva, he was expecting Lord Shiva to stand and show the respect. Why? That's what Daksha's understanding, Daksha's thinking, that Lord Shiva should stand and show me respect, because first of all, he is my son-in-law. And secondly, he was not treating Lord Shiva as a very exalted personality. He was thinking, what is this Lord Shiva? He looks like so, very, awkward, and he doesn't have so-called manners, and the way he live and look who are his followers. He's always moving into here and there. So you are not respecting he was not well dressed. You are just having some, pancha made from the tiger skin, and simple, and snakes and all that. So it's very weird appearance. This is what Daksha was thinking about Lord Shiva. But Daksha was not able to understand Lord Shiva is completely detached, and he's the highest among that assembly. He's almost like personality of God, is just below the personality. He's a highest Vaishnava, means who is a servant of personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So he's having highest position among the living entity. So, but he was not able to appreciate that. He got popped up also. Oh, I am doing so many yajnas. He means Daksha got popped up, and he was sort of, it's like ego. No, we see this in material world. It is not easy to surpass our ego and that's what we see in material, because that's the most prominent force of Maya. It is very difficult. Whatever may be, even though big personalities, big, rishis, munis, or even so-called materially powerful people get surrendered under the influence of ego. Ego is so powerful, because that's the whole problem. False ego is our whole problem. That's why we are here in material world. And that is what is not easy to surpass unless you are a pure devotee. So Daksha was little bit, sort of annoyed also. He was little bit popped up also. He was expecting the respect. So he was expecting the respect from Lord Shiva. Person like Lord Shiva. Personality like Lord Shiva, who is much more about the Daksha. And Lord Shiva was not having any intention of not giving respect to Daksha. Obviously not. He is just neutral to all this. He is detached. He is completely detached. Okay. He is completely detached from all this. He doesn't bother whether I should stand or sit. And he did not disrespect anybody. Neither he gave respect, but he did not disrespect anybody intentionally. He was just sitting there. That's how detached people are there. That is how detached personalities are there. They are least bothered about so-called etiquettes, so-called, uh, various formalities of the material world. That's a sign of detachment. And Vaishnava should go to that level. That's how it is. Of course, we should follow the etiquettes towards Vaishnavas. I'm not saying we should not follow etiquette. But Lord Shiva's position is very different. Okay. So, but then maybe externally you have to show the respect. Lord Shiva also was not showing the disrespect. He was respecting, but he was not under this, laws and rules and all that. That is one thing. So Daksha insulted Lord Shiva, saying that you are like this, you are weird person, you are not keeping my daughter very well, my daughter is suffering, and all those things. But Lord Shiva, as usual, he was least bothered about that insult also. He was not affected by it. He was not at all angry. While Daksha was extremely angry because Daksha was expecting the respect, Lord Shiva was completely detached from all this. That's how how to control the anger. So basically, we should be detached. Once you are detached from this, it is easy to control the anger. But lust and anger, of course, these are the two prominent uh, vikaras. Anyway, so Lord Shiva was undisturbed, although Daksha was insulting, but then Lord Shiva's followers become angry. And Daksha's followers become angry. There was exchange of word, and then there was a big fight and lot of big fight. And then ultimately Lord Shiva left from that place. Okay, Lord Shiva left from that place. Daksha also left from that place. But then Yagga was continued. That is the, you know, incidents we are discussing. Why? Because the performance of Yagya done by the expert Brahmanas and whoever were Krishna, it was continued. Prabhupada writes in the first sloka, out which we read today, that even though Lord Shiva and Daksha was not, performance of sacrifices were done. Because Prabhupada explained it, sacrifice, performance of sacrifice is done for the satisfaction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. So it was continued. That is very clear-cut example of how we should always do all our duties, all our sacrifices to satisfy Lord Vishnu. We should not get affected by any hurdles. And definitely we should not aim our sacrifices to satisfy demigods. That's very important point here. So then Lord Shiva left, and of course I will not narrate the complete story. The whole story goes further, which will come. But then basically, then Lord Shiva goes. But then again, there is one more sacrifice, yajna, arranged by Daksha. That time, Lord Shiva did not go, but his wife Sati went. And then, but she saw and she became angry because her husband is not invited, and she sort of jumps into the sacrificial fire and rejects, leaves her body. And Lord Shiva become angry and he comes there, and he kills the Daksha, and then, but then again he gets rejuvenated by Lord Shiva because he's very merciful. And the head of the goat was kept on the Daksha's, body, and then he continued to live with that. So important thing there is, if you have got ego and if you are not able to control the ego, we are going to have a lot of embarrassing position in the material life. That's how it is here. We can see that. So that's why. So Daksha was throughout his post life, he was to live with goat head of the goat, and but of course then he was humbled. But then that was a token that if we don't control the ego, it's very difficult. And material life, Maya will teach you the lesson, and we can be in embarrassing position. But the person who controls the ego, who doesn't anger like Lord Shiva, they don't have to worry about anything. That's a story. It goes on further. But thing here is, Prabhupada explains, we should basically, I'll just read the sage Maitreya continued, "O Vidura, all the progenitors of universal proposition thus executed sacrifice thousands of years. For sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord, Hari's personality or Godhead." So the purpose of yajna is given here. Bhaktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram shariram sarudam sarvabhutanam nyatvan mam shantim richati. The Bhagavad Gita shloka says that yajna you have to do to satisfy Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. Why? Because he is a Bhaktaram yajna tapasam. Means he is the ultimate aim for yajna. Yajna means what? Yajna means it's not only the home and there is a fire and people are putting the ghee there. That is one type of yajna. People do yajna in many cases. If anything which is offered, that activity, any particular activity, be it say control of the senses. Suppose we are doing upvasa, that is also yajna. Some people are doing homa, that is also yajna. Some people are offering some things to the Lord, that is also yajna. Hundreds of many type, even we are working in our job, but if you are working in Krishna consciousness and offering all results of your duty to Lord, that is also yajna. That's a sacrifice, because we are sacrificing something. We are sacrificing indriya trupti, you are sacrificing time, you are sacrificing some material, money, whatever. That is all yajna. But of course, in Satyavga, this proper elaborate yajna was, because that's very high level science, where you put all the lot of ingredients and it goes back to the various devatas, demigods, and then they get satisfied, and then the cycle of the nature continue. Anyway, that's a very big science. But in Kali Yuga, all that is not valid now. It is not effective because the purity, the potency has gone from the people in Kali Yuga. We are lazy, we are less intelligent, we don't have that power, tapasya we don't have. Very few, little bit power we have. So, but yajnas need a lot of expert brahmanas who will conduct that yajna. That yajna has to be conducted by expert brahmana who will flawlessly and with a lot of full purity, he will utter the mantras, and that mantras will have effect. Now we don't have that purity, neither we have got that power, mind power, mental power, spiritual power also we don't have, time also we don't have, and ingredient also we don't have. We don't have so much ghee and so much, wooden, like, sandalwood, and nothing is there much. It's all impure. So no question of doing yajna, but Lord Chaitanya has initiated this yajna. What is the yajna indicated in Kali Yuga is a Sankirtan yajna. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. That is the recommendation in Kali Yuga. Why? Because Lord Krishna has given all his power. He has invested all his powers in that 16 syllable mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He has put all these powers, and that is, he has released. And Lord Chaitanya actually populated, especially 500 years back, because that was a real Kali Yuga's effect of full-fledged start coming. And he populated saying that you do this yajna only, Sankirtan yajna. Sankirtan means coming together and chanting name of Lord Hari. Anyway, point here is, any yajna as applicable, as appropriate for any yoga has to be done to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Why? Because he is a Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. He is the ultimate beneficiary of yajna. Why? Because everything what we are doing, what we got as an ingredient or resources is coming from Lord Vishnu. So yajna means we are only trying to give back to the Lord. It's sacrifice for us. Why? Because we are using Lord's resources. But why it is sacrifice? Otherwise, we will use it for ourselves. Suppose you have got money. Now, money you can use it for your indriya trupti, your self-satisfaction. You may not use it for Lord Vishnu's or Lord Krishna's purpose. Suppose there is a temple has to be built. We don't give money to temple, then we are not using money for Lord's purpose. But if you are using money for our own satisfaction, okay, these, that, wasting money here and there, some party, this, that, some money, giving some food to some unnecessary people, and spending into some vehicles, is that unnecessary. Of course, we have to use money for ourselves, for our body sustenance, no doubt. But beyond that, whatever is remaining, whatever is surplus, we should use it for Lord Krishna. That's the whole Vedic civilization. So money, and then time. Some people want to do some service to Lord Krishna, go to temple, do some service, preaching, or some cleaning, some food distribution, prasad distribution, whatever services. That is, you are doing sacrifice. But otherwise, you'll use it that time for something else. Okay, you'll go to some cinema, movie, and this and that. So whole purpose here is whatever we have got in our possession, we earn. We say we earn. Yes, true, we earn. But that also is actually given by Lord Krishna. Actually given by Lord. If you really see, we have to think this in a very logical way. We are using resources of the material nature. Material nature is nothing but Lord Krishna's energy, Lord Krishna's property. Bhoktaram Yagyatavasa Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the Ishwar of all loka, means all material world. Material world, spiritual world, Sarvaloka, everything. He is a proprietor. He is a beneficiary. and he is the controller of everything. Is it not true? Yes, because everything is controlled. Material world is working under Lord Krishna's supervision. Of course, Maya is only means his energy to control the material, but actually, ultimately, it is controlled by. And he's a proprietor because the whole thing he owns it. We don't own. We don't own material world. We don't own anything. We are not created anything, but he has created, so he owns like that. Okay. So obviously, then Bhagavad Gita says that you should. He's a controller. He's the owner. You are only the user. You can say it. We are only using. We are manipulating the laws of material nature. Prabhupada says he manipulates. We are just manipulating the laws of material nature and creating something. Actually, it's not creation. It is just conversion. So for example, I create some chemical in my lab. That is not a creation. We say it's creation, but it's not creation. It is just manipulation of the already existing chemicals. We have got some control. We are partial controller. We are partial proprietor, and we are partial beneficiary, but we are only partial to the extent we have got control. And that is also Lord's mercy. But actually, the ultimate beneficiary, ultimate control is Lord. So we should worry about ultimate thing. Parameshwara, Parama, Paramatma, Parama means ultimate. So this is the whole arrangement we need to understand as a devotee. And not only understand, we have to actually surrender and have that service attitude to Lord, because we are not dead stone. We are not dead stone. We are a living being. We have feelings. We have got rasas. We have got relations with Lord. So it's not sufficient only to understand, yeah, Lord is controller. I am only there. No. It's not that way. That is a Mayavadi philosophy. And they have some different philosophy. I mean, okay, why I'm only Lord. I mean, let's not get into that. That's quite dry thing. But of course, that's a neutral platform. But we have own feelings. We are human being. We are soul. Satchit Anandam. We have got living tendency. And Lord also has got all this. He is also living being. Lord is living being, but of course he is a Parama. Everybody is coming from him. And he expects us to reciprocate with him. And we should do that. That's a devotee. That's the devotion service. That is nothing but devotional service. It is just interacting, reciprocating with Lord, offering ourselves to the Lord, offering all our resources to the Lord, is what the devotional service is. And that is how simple, that's the best yajna. External, you may do some yajna of external, like you are trying to control senses, you are trying to do some Ekadashi, you are trying to do some Homa, you are trying to do offer some. That's the external way and means of doing the thing. But ultimate, the feeling here is to surrender to Lord. And that's the whole thing. I mean, that is true for everything. So that is how we should worship. That's called worship, exactly. We should worship by whatever is possible, whatever way. Okay, there are 9 processes of worship, and then we do yajna. So, but then Sankirtan yajna, why Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu propagated? Because that is the recommended method. That is the only method. That is the only yajna we should do. Other yajnas are not null and valid. It's just waste of time. Only Sankirtan yajna will be suitable, and that's most powerful and it's very potent. It is not that in Kali Yuga the power of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is less. No, it is in fact it is there. Highest power is there because Lord has invested. We have to only do that yajna. We have to only do that yajna with a loving attitude. That's sufficient. So the question, the point of discussion here is basically yajna has to be done, and in Kali Yuga, yajna, method of yajna is Sankirtan yajna, and we should know that yajna is meant for Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. No, nothing else. Generally, people end up doing some sacrifice, some sacrifices here and there for demigods also. That's explaining second shloka. I'll just read that shloka and we'll just get into more details. Prabhupada explains, my dear Vidura, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who are performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna after completing the yajna performance. Such a bath is called Avabhruta Snana. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. So what Prabhupada explains here is basically the whole, I'll not read the purport again, but Prabhupada is bringing to the point of why our yajna or sacrifice or worship should not be misdirected to the demigods. That's the whole point. And he explains, Prabhupada explains. We'll just discuss that. Prabhupada explains Prabhupada gives example. First of all, um, Lord Lord Krishna is the ultimate. And demigods are like servants. They are like administrative administrative heads of the whole material affair, material universe. They are not ultimate. So now logically, very simple to understand why we should give respect to the lower servants and not give respect to ultimate. That is the first thing. If you don't give respect, if you don't worship to the ultimate supreme and try to worship or offer yourself or do some activity sacrifice for servants, we are living entities. It's an insult. That's the first thing. It's very logical. Suppose in your house you receive, say, Prime Minister of India. I'm just giving some hypothetical example, and you receive along with him there is one, secretary. Of, to whom you will give the respect? You will give the main respect to Prime Minister. Of course, it's not that you will disrespect to the person accompanying. That is also important. You'll respect him also, but your real respect will be to him, and of course, you'll give respect to others. So it is very important to discriminate. We discriminate based on the position. Of course, in material positions are driven by money and all that, which is very fallacy. But yeah, I mean, the tendency, the logic is there. But in the spiritual realm, the first respect goes to Lord Krishna, because he's the supreme. Of course, Vaishnavas are there. They are his servant. It doesn't mean that we don't respect Vaishnava. We respect Vaishnavas. Why? Because they are Vishnu's servants. So that way we respect Vaishnava. We don't disrespect other than Lord Krishna. I disrespect everybody is not a good theory. That is also a problem. But Prabhupada explains that. Prabhupada explains, he gives the example of government servant. Okay. So government servant is there. Government is there, government servant is there. Now, Prabhupada explained that you will not give bribe to government servant. Doesn't mean, because bribe is illegal. It is like saying that worshipping demigod is like giving bribe, is what Prabhupada clearly tells. Worshipping demigod is like giving bribe to government servant. Why? Because it is illegal. Why? Because you have to worship the supreme in the whole context. In government, you have to worship the topmost person. We have to respect or deal with the topmost person. Others are servant. They are doing their duty. That doesn't mean that even though we are not giving bribe to some government servant, that doesn't mean that we are going to disrespect him. We don't insult him. We give respect. Okay, yes, your government. Yes, sir. No problem. Okay, whatever is standard working fees, as per the work we give. And there is a respect given to government. But we don't bribe him. And we don't give bribe doesn't mean we disrespect him. So this is the thing we have to understand. It's a very, very nice example Prabhupada has given. And that is the way it is. We have to see Lord is the supreme. So we give respect to ultimate respect to Lord. We give respect to all his Lord servants, demigods also. But we don't bribe them. Bribe means not giving respect to Lord Krishna and giving some worshipping the demigod is the bribe. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita says the people who are driven by lust and three modes of material nature go to those demigods. Why? Because living entity is driven by lust, anger, and greed. They want some material possessions. They have got some material requirement, material desires. And to satisfy these material desires, people go to demigod. That is the nature of demigod worship. There is nothing like worship, or there is nothing like bhaja. There is nothing like bhajanti or bhajan. There is nothing like demigod bhajan or worship. The demigod worship is basically sort of business. Prabhupada writes it, not here somewhere. It's a transaction. Okay, I will worship you. I'll give you this. You give me this. That is the whole Vedas are explaining that. Demigod worship is all this, driven by all some motto, material motto. Always it's like that. There is no devotion there. Devotion is valid only in the case of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. That is also said very clearly in the throughout Bhagavatam. Because Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna will not give you material benefit just like that. He will, I mean, there is a difference, and we see this in all Puranas and even Bhagavatam also, and many, Vedic literature. When your demigods are giving some boon or material, keep material rewards or material things to the his so-called devotee, it will be material, and it has ended up into destruction of the devotee, that so-called devotee of demigod, or that person. But when Lord Krishna gives any benediction, it will be good for soul of that person. It will be good for his spiritual progress. He will not give material benefit who doesn't, if he feel, suppose we approach, of course, one thing we should understand, for anything, even material desires and spiritual progress, we should always approach only Lord Krishna. That's for sure. No doubt. Lord Krishna said that even though you have got material desire, come to me. I will give that. And that's how Vaishnava follow. First of all, we should not have material desire. We should reduce it. But we will have, because we are in transition. Nothing wrong in approaching to Lord Krishna with material desires sometimes, because we are not able to control the material desire. But of course, we should not approach the Lord Krishna only for material desire. That's also another thing. Our whole thing is devotion, and we are approaching Lord Krishna for devotion. But since we are in transition, we might have material desires because we are not under control. We are under control of mind. We are not yet control the mind. We have so many desires here. So in the context of progressive and spiritual, sometimes we have to ask material desire. Nothing wrong in asking material desire, or we don't have to even ask. Lord Krishna will take care of it. You don't have to ask also. In future, we should not ask them, go for it. We should have faith that, okay, whatever desires I have, what material Lord will take care. And even if it doesn't take care, we should accept it. That's a whole difference between Lord's worship and demigod's worship. Demigod worshipper doesn't go with this attitude. They go with, I want this, I'll give it to you, this or that one, that, like that. Very important fundamental difference. And Lord Krishna will never give you the material desires, fulfill material, if it is detrimental to your spiritual progress. But if it is hampering your spiritual progress due to some material issues, he may satisfy your desire. That's all there. But we devotee, as such, we don't get into business of satisfying material desire and all that. We should avoid it. We should try to minimize those desires, asking the material desires to Lord. And we should always ask Lord the spiritual, His mercy to allow us to progress in material, spiritual life. That's all what Hare Krishna Mahamantra is. Hare Krishna Mantra is we are begging for the mercy of Lord. There is nothing like material possession in Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's why it's one of the offense if you try to use the Hare Krishna Mahamantra's potency for some material fulfillment of desire. That's so open. That's one of the opens. That's how it is. Okay. So Prabhupada explains very in a consolidated way that demigod worship is not, it is avidhi purvakam, it is unauthorized. It is not authorized by Vedas. While keeping aside the worship of Lord Vishnu. Because that's the vidhi purvakam. Worship is meant only for Lord Vishnu because he is the proprietor. He is the government, main person of government in the comparison, if analogy. He is the main person. So obviously you should satisfy main person. He'll only give whatever ultimately, even though you so-called do the worship of demigod, ultimately Lord Krishna's sanction only demigod are able to give the satisfy the desires. Demigods are not independent to satisfy anything. They are not independent to give anything to anybody. Bhagavad Gita also says that. Ultimately, if you are worshipping demigod, you are actually worshipping me, but without my sanction, they will not give. But that's indirect, it is avidhi purvakam, it is not logical. That's why we should not do it. Because Shastra says. So we should be very clear. We are going to worship Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. We are going to devote ourselves. It is not, worship is never meant for material gain of Lord Vishnu. We should always go to him. Demigod worship is nothing like demigod worship, but we should give respect to demigod. Sometimes we have to go to temple of demigod. Sometimes we have to, it comes contextually. Yeah. So that time our vow should be just ask demigod, so-called demigod, that please progress me in the service of Lord Krishna. Demigod himself will be satisfied. That is human interest. They become satisfied. If some soul is asking some different, very, very unique benediction of serving the Lord Vishnu. So that is how we should have attitude in case we have to sometimes go to demigod temple, or whenever we see some demigod like deity or something, we can always give respect. There is no question of disrespect. Then it is again problem, because demigods are very high authority. They are sort of almost like they are, they are like Vaishnavas. Of course, Vaishnavas are very high position, but then they are also very elevated souls, and they are having that traces of Vaishnava. And Lord Shiva is the highest, topmost Vaishnava, no doubt about it. Lord Brahma is coming from Lord Vishnu himself. So we should have that respect. We should not get into Vaishnava will never give disrespect to even the small living entity. Forget about demigod. He will always respect. But we should not end up into very very structured worship for them. That because that's not recommended. That's the whole purpose of these two shlokas. The whole summary of these shlokas, because even though Lord Shiva left from the arena of that yajna, and Daksha also left, but the yajna was continued by demigods, and that's because it is ultimately for Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu is always there. So it was continued. That's the whole thing. Prabhupada draws the clear meaning from this, very clear. And then demigod worship, and next thing, why demigod should not be worshipped, Prabhupada explains in the next purport. And that's the whole summary. So this is how these two shloka Prabhupada has properly explained, and we have to interpret from Prabhupada's words, and that is how it is. So this is what I wanted to share today. So any questions or comments we can discuss. Before that, I could see His Grace Uttam Damodar Prabhuji on the call. So I will request Prabhuji to add his thoughts and correct if something is there, and then we can get into question answer. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Okay, probably Prabhuji on mute or something. So we can get into question answers and some comments or something over to devotees. If there is a questions or some comments. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a wonderful class. Prabhuji, actually, sometimes, suppose we are worshipping Hanuman, means previously we used to worship, and maybe due to Hanuman only we came to Krishna consciousness. So if we are worshipping him with the faith of cultivating Krishna consciousness, is it fine or how it is?
Yeah, it's fine, Prabhu. Worshipping means we should worship him as not as a supreme, he's a Vaishnava.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Just I am.
Yeah. See, we worship Vaishnavas actually. Vaishnavas worship is same as Vishnu. We worship our Guru, no? So, so definitely that's not a problem, because Vaishnava worship is not demigod worship. Vaishnava worship has to be there. It's like it's worshipping Vaishnava means actually worshiping Vishnu, because he's a representative of Vishnu. Vaishnava. So that is also that's different than demigod worship.
Yeah.
And we don't worship Vaishnava for material gain. So it's a process. Vidhi. Vishnu, our Lord Krishna's worship is Vaishnavas worshipping Vaishnava, respecting Vaishnava, serving the Vaishnava is part of Vishnu's worship itself. So that's very same. That's not different. But demigod worship is different. The material gain.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I think no, if there is no further questions and comments, we will close the session. Um, so it's almost 9 o'clock now. So thanks for your time, devotees, and thanks Damodar Prabhuji also. He could not probably is not there right now, but thanks for all of your time, and we'll continue attending these classes and continue chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. We'll close the session now. Hare Krishna. Thanks.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.